to the lack of time, visa expiration date, no spare tires, decision was made to unfortunately skip Mongolia, fly myself and bike to Moscow and continue riding back home from there. There is approximately 6,000 kilometers from Magadan to Moscow, which equals 8 time zones. So when I left Magadan at around 2 p.m. I arrived in Moscow at the same time, as duration of the flight is 8 hours as well. Also worth of mentioning is that I was not flying in the same airplane as bike was. I came around 3 days before bike was shipped from Magadan to Moscow, which was nicely done because it gave me opportunity to see Moscow. After bike arrived, I did some 630 kilometers from Moscow to border of Ukraine and Russia, which equaled the same amount of time, 8 hours, as flight from Magadan to Moscow. Then it took me around 3.5 hours or 228 kilometers from Ukrainian-Russian border to Kiev. I spent 2 days in Kiev, had a wonderful time over there, and then continued to Odessa, which was 5 hours away, some 480 kilometers from Kiev. In Odessa I spent 1 day and then continued to Moldova, seen some wineries in the capital, and continued to Romania. That was some 273 kilometers or 4.5 hours. What to say? Flying was always plan B. Plan A was to drive a motorcycle from Magadan through Mongolia back home. I already had Mongolian visa, but unfortunately I spent all spare tires through Road of Bones. I was on the spare tire that was completely ruined and I had no other options but to fly myself. Big thanks here goes to Avia partners from Magadan who helped me achieve this, to send bike to Moscow so that I can drive it back home to Croatia. 8 hours flight with Aeroflot from Magadan to Moscow was really pleasant. I was enjoying every moment, and as soon as I arrived in Moscow I had plenty of time to visit all the famous places. Here I'm at the Red Square. Here is Kremlin, famous Tower Watch. Days were a little bit rainy, a little bit non-rainy, but in any case good enough for sightseeing. Here is famous St. Basil Cathedral with its colorful roofs. Another entrance to the Red Square near Resurrection Gates and Marshal Zhukov, famous general from the Second World War monument. Here's another side of the gate. In any case, Moscow is, as you all know, capital and largest city in Russia. It's around 13 million residents and with surrounding area around 19 million, which puts it among the biggest cities in the world. Moscow is first mentioned in 1147, but back then it was a minor town within its principality of Vladimir Sudzhal. It started developing as principality capital in 14th century and from 16th century as Tsardom of Russia capital. Following 1721 it started to be capital of Russia Empire, in 1918 capital of USSR, and recently in 1991 as capital of Russian Federation. Also on the Red Square there's a Lenin mausoleum which was built in 1924. It was built for the leader of Bolshevik party, Bolshevik Revolution or October Revolution. Around there are monuments of other leaders through the history of Soviet Union, Russia. Here are two fellows dressed as Stalin and Lenin. That was fun to see. And here is the queue for visiting the Lenin's mausoleum. I went there. This is a tomb of unknown soldier, basically commemorating the battle for Moscow during the Second World War. Other buildings with all the Soviet emblems. I mean, it's nice to see traces of history here and there. I was also in Kremlin, inside of the Kremlin. Usually you see it outside, but this is inside. Churches, all the buildings where government and president are standing. This is a big Tsar's cannon by Book of Guinness, the biggest cannon that was ever built. Russian Parliament, State Duma. And here I was as well, the Museum of Cosmonauts, where you can see all the achievements of Soviet era, or Russia as you want, through which they achieved pretty amazing stuff. They sent first dog Laika in space, first cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, so there's stuff to see. This is VDNH Park, which was done back in the days as a world exhibition of everything that Soviet Union did. Nowadays it's still working. It's nice to see around it. There are concerts, there's music playing all around, so nice place to spend some time. This is a Central Air Force Museum with its around 173 airplanes that are exhibited here. You can see a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's crazy because during the Cold War, aeronautic was developing in completely two different ways on one side of the iron fence and on the other side. So some technical achievements that were made on both sides. It's for for a person like me, like mechanical engineer, it's nice to see them. So place is a little bit outside of the Moscow. You need to travel by bus or taxi or something to see it, but it's worth of time. And once you're there, you have plenty of stuff to see and plenty of time to spend. There are military transport airplanes, or of course civil as well. Here is the Russian or Soviet version of Concorde, ultrasonic airplane. And as you can see, motorcycle arrived. Here it is in front of the hotel where I was staying. I managed to buy and repair some stuff from the BMW center in Moscow. Also bought new tires. There is the old one over there standing, and I was ready to go. Did one last circle, but now with the motorcycle around the Moscow. Mostly in the last 3 days I was driving with metro, but now I'll be able to circle around with the motorcycle. Here on the right side is actually Ljubljanka metro station, one of many through the Moscow. Actually, Moscow metro system was built in 1935. It has 271 stations nowadays, or put it in kilometers, some 466 kilometers. Is the 8th longest in the world. Longest in Europe, and if you exclude China, then it would be the longest in the world. Deepest section is something around 73 meters, and if you would be there, similar like in other Soviet cities, it's actually an artistic masterpiece. It's very nicely decorated. Fortunately, here I don't have any photos or videos from it, but mark my word, it's beautiful place to see. It's like you are going into the museum, not into the metro station itself. This in front of me is Kotelnicheskaya embankment building. It's one of 7 sisters or 7 Stalin skyscrapers. They were built in between 1947 and 53. At that time they were the tallest buildings in Europe. They had to be, you know, Soviet Union wanted to show itself as big progressive country. The tallest of them is Moscow State University, 239 meters, and it was the tallest building or skyscraper up to 1990. Other ones are either apartments, hotel, government building or similar. And I was getting out of Moscow, getting out of Moscow Circle, getting forward the Ukrainian-Russian border. The idea was to sleep in Bryansk, some 400 kilometers away from Moscow. Streets were jammed, but thankfully they are pretty wide, so if there is a problem, there is always this left side to drive through. All in all, good weather for August. Managed to reach Bryansk, and tomorrow morning I continued to Ukraine. Here I'm on the Russian part of the Russian-Ukrainian border. It's called Senkivka. And here this is Monument of Friendship. It was built in 1975. It's called Three Sisters because it's a border in between 3 countries actually nowadays: Belarusia, Ukrainian and Russia. So nice place to visit when you are passing through the border. Actually, officially the monument itself it's in Ukrainian soil, and here is Ukrainian border crossing itself. Had absolutely no problem passing through, and the next stop was Kiev, the city that I wanted also to visit so many times, but never managed to do that. All in all, I had very nice time in Moscow. If I could had more time, it would be even better, because you know, those big cities, they have so many things to offer to see. So the idea was to spend there a few days, and the same thing here. I hope to reach Kiev and spend a few days there to briefly see it, and then hopefully, like in any other occasion, to visit it again and see some stuff that I haven't seen in the first place. What to say about Ukraine? Well, Ukraine name comes from Old Slavic name for the borderland. Kingdoms were exchanging territories here from very early days, but many scholars like to mention Kiev Rus state as a predecessor not only to Ukraine but also to Belarusia and Russia. Kievan Rus was the first East Slavic state in Eastern Europe from somewhere late 9th century to the 13th century. Ukraine itself started existing within the Soviet Union after the October Revolution in 1917 as one of the Soviet republics. It gained full independence in 1990 after the collapse of the Soviet Union. This voyage was happening in 2019, so the conflict that was happening within the southern regions of Ukraine had absolutely no impact on it. Actually, I had no problems whatsoever coming to Kiev and then later on from Kiev to Odessa and to Moldova. Here I entered already Kiev. I'm basically close to the city center. Kiev was founded somewhere in between 5th and 9th century. Scholars, historians have hard time establishing the right date because they don't have enough information. It was founded as a capital of Kiev Rus. Scattered Slavic settlements existed in the same area from 6th century, but it's unclear if one of them was actually Kiev that we know today. It's situated on the Dnieper River, so it had strategic position for trade in between North and Mediterranean states. Many times it was completely destroyed either by different Rus princes or Mongols, Lithuanians, Tatars, you name it. Moving from one ruler to another after October Revolution, it became capital of the new established Soviet Republic of Ukraine. Finally, in 1990 it came as capital of independent Ukraine. It was Sunday, so the city was not jammed with traffic, and I was heading slowly forward my hotel. As always in big cities, I had few criteria. The first one is that I had a good place to park the bike, secure place to park the bike, and another one is to have anything for me. It doesn't matter really. And here it is, the nice hotel, a skyscraper basically, with small rooms. Here you can see the room, and the most important thing, balcony, from which I can freely see that the bike is okay. No issues about it, there it is. I spent nice few days in Kiev. You can see a lot of cathedrals, churches. Basically this place is kind of a start point for Eastern Orthodox Church for the Slavic countries. Of course, National Opera and Theatre is there. The city itself, it's very easy to walk around, so from one side to another you can basically enjoy walking and going from one side to another, visiting, relaxing, continuing, have a nice lunch and then continuing again. This is the Independence Square. As I said, a lot of churches, a lot of monuments, beautiful place. We saw before St. Sophia Cathedral, and this is St. Michael Golden Monastery. This is something that's within the World Heritage List. It was built during the Kiev Rus, so it has a huge importance for all the Ukrainians. And this is People's Friendship Arc. It was built in 1982 to celebrate 1,500 years since the Kiev has been established. Maidan, Independence Square, best known lately by Euromaidan, which happened in 2013, uprising of the people. Too many people were here at this square. There was some shooting, government fall, president left, so on. This here is the presidential palace or residence. It was built by one Polish guy who ended in bankruptcy, trying to finish such a masterpiece with all those animals. Governmental building again. And the next one is Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, parliamentary building. Again, residence of Ukrainian president. And here, this is Holodomor Victims Memorial, Mass Famine Memorial. Monastery of Kyiv from 11th century, World Heritage List, huge importance for Eastern Orthodox Church, worth of visiting definitely. And this is Museum of History of Ukrainian in World War II. It was built in 1981, commemorating all the victims that were happening from Ukrainian side in the World War II. This above is Mother of the Motherland statue. As you can see, all the places carved with soldiers, people fighting, and it's incredible how nicely it was done. All the lines of the faces, beautiful. Few tanks to take a few photos. Motherland, or Mother of Ukraine as now they are calling it. Some ballistic missiles, airplanes. And it's time to go. Leaving Kiev. As I said, had a wonderful time. I mean, there is no place that I didn't have a wonderful time, but Kiev, yes, absolutely, and definitely I need to come back. Odessa is third largest city in Ukraine. It takes you around 5 hours to reach it from Kiev. It's around 480 kilometers away. It's situated on the Black Sea. It's a major seaport. Population is around 1 million people. And worth of knowing is that entire city center is on the UNESCO list of World Heritage Sites. Place was existing by a different name in the 6th century before Christ. It was named Hystria and it was part of the ancient Greece. First mentioning of Slavic settlements comes from 15th century when it was part of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Later on it was part of Ottoman Empire, and in 1794 it's becoming part of Russian Empire after Ottoman-Russian War. Russians took control over it and named it Odessa. Empress Catherine II wanted to establish the navy port, as this was the warm sea place, unlike other Russian ports, so she gave assignment for port to be established. And as this was the rare port of Russian Empire with warm waters, trade routes start establishing pretty quickly, money start coming into Odessa significantly, and architecturally it started growing as well. So this is one of the reasons why it's on the UNESCO heritage list. This guy, Duc de Richelieu, was the governor of Odessa. He escaped French Revolution, joined the Russian army, came here and governed the place when it was blooming with architectural masterpieces. Nowadays, more than few of those buildings are falling apart, lack of money or something else, I don't know, will. I can't say that one day or 1.5 days was enough to see all that I wanted to see in Odessa, but as I said before, that thing that you don't see something is always a good reason to come back and check the place once again. I can't lie, after Central Asia, after Road of Bones, being on asphalt road is kind of, boring. And it's not like it was, especially here in Odessa. It was August, so mid of summer, and the temperatures were growing, so it was not something like you would enjoy riding at. But then again, I had to go back home one way or another, so this was the way to go. So more like visiting interesting sites than enjoying too much in riding either in some kind of a curvy roads or similar. This is one fortress on the Black Sea. Nothing special, but since it's the only one in the surrounding area, I wanted to see, take a look, and stretch my legs and then move ahead. So started as ancient Greeks, then many others, then Ottomans, then Ukrainians. So there you go, brief history of the place. And here I'm at the border in between Ukraine and Moldova. Moldova is a landlocked country in Eastern Europe, 2.4 million people. Most of Moldova territory started as Principality of Moldova from 14th till 19th century, taken by Ottomans and then later on by Russian Empire. And after October Revolution it became a Soviet Republic of Moldova. Following the collapse of Soviet Union, it became independent state. My target here was to visit the biggest winery in the world. Actually, the cellar is the biggest cellar in the world, and later on briefly take a look at the capital and move to Romania. And here it is, Milesti Mici Winery. 2 million bottles, 200 kilometers of cellars, the biggest winery in the world. So, I adore wine, and when I saw this place that's on my way, when I was heading home, I said I had to visit it. I will survive somehow the wine, because I had to taste it. You see, there's wine everywhere. There's a wine fontaine. It's a beautiful place. I could start living here easily. I was waiting for some other folks on the motorcycles to join me, and then we entered the wine cellar. So this is the interesting part. When you're going to this wine cellar, winery, you're going with a car or with a bus or with a motorcycle in our case. You're driving around, then you stop, then the lady who was doing the tour explained to you why we stopped, what are we looking at. You see, all the barrels filled with wine. Amazing place. Limestones in galleries maintains 85 to 95% of humidity, and it holds temperature constant throughout the year from 12 to 14 degrees of Celsius, which is a perfect temperature for wine. 70% of the wines located here are red wines, around 20% are white wines, and 10% are desert wines. Most valuable bottle is from 1973, and it's worth around 480 euros. In August 2005, winery was registered in the Guinness World Record book as the biggest wine cellar in the world. During, let's say, last years of Soviet Union, when the president of USSR, Michael Gorbachev, had its perestroika, they tried to forbidden drinking of any alcohol, so they were destroying all the alcohol in USSR. And this winery unfortunately was on the list of the places to be completely destroyed as well. But something like those doors here, they managed to hide some old wine bottles, so it remained for a future generation. What to say? Wine is definitely connecting people. Maybe only disconnecting brain. But no, I had to do this kind of a photo because you are at those kind of places once in a lifetime, so you have to do yourself a favor and do a nice decent photo. I mean decent. You get my point. And I was entering Chișinău, a city with its population of about 700,000 people. This is Eternity Memory Center for the lost lives of, I think, Russian soldiers during the Second World War. I briefly stopped at few places here in the city. It was simply not on my list to stay any longer. I wanted to reach Romania, sleep over there, and then continue. This is the Triumphal Arch from 1840. It basically represents victory of the Russian Empire over the Ottoman Empire. Funny fact is that when I was driving through Chișinău, one police officer that was on the middle of the street started waving with his lollipop, and I simply turned my head in other direction, kind of not seeing him. And then I was hoping up to the border with Romania that nobody will be stopping me. Unfortunately, nobody did stop me or go after me, and here I'm finally entering Romania, basically exiting ex-countries of USSR and entering European Union.